Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. We are an anime podcast. Every 2 weeks, our mission, should we choose to accept it, is we watch an anime that we have chosen that's usually fresh and new. We discuss it on this podcast like we're a literate book club, and then we turn the discussion over to our comment section to do the heavy work so that we can go play video games and watch more anime. That's the concept of the show. We are talking about the second half of the first season of Fire Force. We already discussed episodes 1 through 12 in our previous episode, so if you did miss that and you're jumping in here, that would be a good place to start. But we're going to be talking about episode 13 through 24. And to do that, I need the help of my co-host. First off, we have the Ron Perlman to my Hellboy. Jeremy, how are you?
Oh, the good one. Right on. I'm doing good. Just busy. Yeah. Really not much interesting to report. Maybe I played a little bit more Kingdom Come Deliverance. That's been pretty cool, but otherwise just one foot in front of the other.
Well, I mean, at least you're keeping busy during the quarantine, right? Most of us are just lounging around in pajama pants watching Cheers for The Office.
Yep.
Did you just say Cheers?
Some people still watch Cheers. I'm not
how old that makes you?
I realized it after I said it and had to update to The Office, which is okay. We also have the David Harbour to my Hellboy, Jason. How are you?
Yeah. You always do these weird references that I just don't know.
How do you not know Hellboy?
No, I know Hellboy. I just don't know who that person is that you just said.
David Harbour played the new Hellboy in the remake that bombed in the box office for sucking, whereas Ron Perlman was the original actor.
Oh, fair enough. You son of a...
Don't worry, it's very insulting.
So, Jeremy, I need to apologize because normally we've been on the same page as far as entertainment values. And
it's not my fault.
I bought a Call of Duty game for the first time last night.
Oh, you bought it?
I'm so sorry.
You bought it?
I did. It's on sale. It's 25% off.
That isn't even enough. Oh my god. I
know.
I feel so dirty. Both of you now.
I tried to talk him out of it. I was like, are you sure? Are you really, really sure we want to do this?
Oh my god.
So, guess what I spent all afternoon doing?
Well, as long as you liked it, there's that.
I'll have to say, I had a ton of fun with Troy and his brother last night.
That's cool.
Yeah, we had a good time. They showed me that even though you can have a lot of numbers as far as your rank, you can still be bad.
Oh, okay. So this is why you don't feel bad if you go up against people who have really high numbers. You're like, I can still beat them.
Right. And also, apparently mouse and keyboard is much better than controller.
Oh, heck yeah.
And aiming. You should always aim if you're going to actually fire any of your weapons.
Hey, you mean as in like execute the aim mode where it like zooms into the
right. You like right click
okay.
for the mouse, and then you'll look down the barrel of the weapon.
We
Okay.
won all our matches and got first place in a Warzone game. It was fantastic.
I like how Troy instantly has to start defending himself.
So I think I see why you actually bought it then, is because you're kind of like hooking onto the trolley of a winning team where you're like, this experience is great. I'm loving this.
No, I'll be honest, because I've never played the PvP mode. I've only played the free Battle Royale mode. And the PvP mode is a lot of fun, I'll have to say. I got to play all the different modes because there's one mode that's free right now. And so I got to play all the different modes. And yeah, they're a blast. Team Deathmatch is very intense. Good lord. But just, yeah. Anyways, that's how I'm doing. I'm doing great.
Okay.
Sounds like
my
fun.
my name is Troy. Guys, guess what I got to do? You're all gonna be so jealous of me.
What
I
did you
watched
do?
the Konosuba movie. It
Oh, you
was
did
so
watch it?
good.
Oh,
I laughed so hard. It's so funny. It's so
I want to
good.
watch it. I
Yeah,
didn't know it was out yet.
it's out now. I think there's even a dub and a sub, but I watch sub. I actually prefer Konosuba and sub because Aqua, uh, still one of the best lines ever. Darkness.
Yes.
It's a fantastic movie. It builds off the first two seasons. It incorporates characters from the seasons. Like you need to have watched the show to understand what's going on in the movie at the end. It was really funny. There's a lot of sexual assault on it, but not always on women. Usually
Well,
on men.
as long as it's 50-50, it's all good.
What is something poking me in the butt? Yes, that's me. Oh, very good movie. All right, let's go on and talk about the anime that we watched. Again, the second half of Fire Force, episodes 13 through 24. Jason, what's your non-spoiler review?
I would say it's a vast improvement from the first half because the first half very much felt we've been over this road. World building was decent. The world itself is actually pretty cool, I think, as far as like a dystopian world. They turned it up to 11 with episode 14 through the rest. It was the opening and closing. I know we're not there yet, but I thoroughly enjoy both. The stakes they change a little bit, and then we get some really cool new characters. And they feel it doesn't feel forced having them inserted into the story. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Jeremy, what do you think?
I actually really liked it as well. I think that they figured out the balance for the second half of this much better than they did for the first half. I think that was one of my major complaints, was that the humor didn't always fit. Like sometimes it just took you right out of a really good moment that they were cultivating, but it didn't really happen to me this time. I mean, maybe once, but for the most part, it was very well balanced. I liked it a lot.
Okay. For me, I'm still finding it as a middle road anime, but it did have some really high points. I think a thought kept coming up to me is that I wish this wasn't a shonen. I think there's a really awesome story in here, and it's a shonen that has like an end goal and stakes that I care about. Like I don't care about the treasure in One Piece. I don't know where Bleach was even trying to go. With Dragon Ball Z, just a new villain shows up every once in a while. This is very much there's a master villain world conspiracy thing going on. There's an end game we're marching towards, and these are heroes who are trying to stop it. And that feels really cool. But when it's just doing regular shonen stuff, I'm not really impressed. The main character doesn't quite grab me as much as other shonen main characters. Midoriya right now kind of sets the bar. So I'm a middle of the road kind of guy. It's beautiful. The animation is still really beautiful, and most of the humor worked for me. I when we get to the first couple episodes we watched, I thought we weren't going to get a new intro and outro, but a few episodes in we do. What do you guys think of the new intro and outro?
Like I said, I actually really enjoyed the music choice, the visuals, and also I liked the new. Instead of going, everyone fears a particular death, but one the most, right? I'm glad they kind of went unfortunately, it wasn't a different one every time, which I was hoping for. But they went to this like story mode of before this society came to fruition.
Yeah, it was like a Princess Tutu intro thing.
Yeah, a little bit. And I was hoping it would, because it was different for a couple episodes in a row, and then they started recycling them. I was really hoping that they would do like a different one every single time and kind of build on that lore. That would have been super cool. But besides that, I actually enjoyed that one better than the over and over, fire death. But
yeah,
I enjoyed both the intro and the outro.
I thought the same thing. I actually kind of had these flashbacks to Vinland Saga when the intro started the first time for this second half. It's like, whoa, metal. Okay, cool. I like that. I don't remember the outro at all, and it might have just been because I really binge watched the second half. I watched 11 of the episodes on Wednesday, and then the 12th one on Thursday morning. So I was just getting through them so fast. I don't think I even listened to the outro once.
I like the visuals specifically, like with the nervous system, but
Yeah, the flowers that turn into the nervous system.
That was awesome.
The visuals of the intro weren't as enjoyable to watch as last time, because like remember last time they told kind of that story of a mission they went on. This was just kind of like random scenes from the stories we're about to see, and a lot of reminding us of the characters in the story. The song did grow on me a little bit. My first impression was like, oh, here's like a fake hard rock song, like someone who's trying really hard to be doing hard rock, but it did grow on me a little bit. It got better each time I listened to it. Okay, now we're going on to our spoiler section. So again, we will be referring to things from the first 12 episodes, assuming you have seen those, and we're going to be talking about things in the second half of the show, also assuming you have seen them. If you haven't and you don't want to be spoiled, this is a good time to go watch the anime.
And then come back.
And then come back. Something we encourage.
Yes.
All right. So we jump right back in where we left off. The Fire Force teammate has been framed, and Shinmon, the captain of the 7th,
yes,
is leaving to investigate, and they're all gathered around the bed of his second in command, who used to be in command, and they're talking to him. And one thing that's really important about this scene is our main character, Shinra, is like, hey, I promise if you ever need my help, you just call to me, to this guy named Conroe. So we are also going to go through a bunch of characters who are sitting in this room that we talked about last time, and their growth and change through these arcs that we're about to watch. Let's start with Shinra, our main character, pointy teeth, fire feet. What do you guys think?
I really like this character. He definitely is. It's funny because, you know, the way he's drawn, you don't think, you know, oh, shonen protagonist. But, you know, very much, you know, I want to save the day. I want to be a hero. But I also love his desire to just be there for as many people as possible. And I think there's going to come a circumstance in the next couple seasons where that's going to hinder him, because I think he's going to make too many promises to too many people, and it's going to backfire. But
I like that. If they do that, that would be really cool. 'Cause that's a complaint that I have about the way that he's being handled. But go on.
It seems very deliberate how many people he's and like these scenes, they're very memorable. Of like, hey, I'm going to help you. And they make an emotional statement with each one, and he does it with a lot of people. And it's like, it just screams out to me, this is foreshadowing to something terrible that's going to happen. It didn't happen this season, but I have a feeling it may. It may not, but I don't know. He was enjoyable to watch, and I liked his motivations, because this isn't, I'm just going to protect my family, but he's lost his family, and now he thinks he's found his brother. So
I liked how they used him to slowly introduce his new power. I thought that was pretty elegantly done, because it was left kind of a little bit shrouded in mystery, where you'd see the screen would get its weird shakes, and I was always wondering, like, okay, so how does this work? That really got me. I wanted to figure it out. So I thought they did a good job with that, and the way that he was reacting to people. But when he was offering them his help, like what you described, where he's like, just call me at any time, I kept wondering, like, how is he going to be able to deliver on that promise? Like, he doesn't have the ability to hear them from a distance, and sure, he's fast, But yeah, exactly. And he's fast, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's got a straight shot to them or that he could get there in time. Like it seems like an empty promise to me. But it worked really well in the sense that they were foreshadowing also his ability and letting us see aspects of it. Actually, I think it was just fortuitous for him that he actually had an ability that would let him deliver on these promises that he was making. But yeah, he was. I think he's a very pure character, but a little bit. He gets a little bit on my nerves because he goes the route of emotion a little too much. And what I mean by that is his powers are fueled by emotion. There's even a point where he yells that out. He's like, "My feelings, by the power of my feelings," or something like that. I can't remember the exact phraseology, but he said something like that. I just have to feel more, or something like that. And then he went on to say something else, but it was like,
In the
crap.
context, to be fair, he was specifically talking about his Adola Link.
Yeah, right. But that's the thing, is like this
Not
power
in order
is
to get more powerful, I need to feel.
right. But that's kind of what it was, though, because this is essentially a limitless power. Because I mean, as we see by the powers that they eventually do display, he's able to do whatever he wants so long as he can feel his way to success.
Here we go.
And
Well,
so that
so-
kind of kills me with him.
And I think that's a little different than other anime when you're talking about feelings. Because normally when we're talking about feelings, we're talking about like emotion of love or companionship or friendship. This isn't like an emotional feeling, quote unquote. This is a new sensation he's attempting to tap into in order to connect himself with Adola.
That's true, but there's two different feels that he's talking about. I think the other one is his emotional connection with his brother that he's using to fuel
Right.
his connection to the Adola.
Let me just offer some clarification. I'm not even picking a side in this argument.
Okay.
By Adola, they're talking about his feet are psychically linked. And he has figured out to make his psychic feet work, it takes strong emotions, because he's heard people psychically through his feet when they were emotionally active. So at one point, he's like, I need to get my emotions more active so my psychic feet will turn on, and then I will be able to tap into a power source. So what he's saying is, I need emotions basically to be psychic, and then by being psychic, I will get power. Not I need emotions for power.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So it's like by proxy. So you're right. Technically, it is the Adola link, and he's figured out that emotions are what he needs. But then he's like, I got to embrace these emotions, and I just got to feel more, and then I'll have more power.
Well,
like,
so what I find the way Troy explained it to me, I do agree with you. It is a feeling scale, but at least they've laid it out instead of a nebulous. I feel, therefore powerful.
They like outlined emotion with science. Like emotion is the fuel now. It all makes sense.
And the more you feel, the more stronger. Which actually I like that about him as far as the Adola Link, is that he's such a pure character that is being fueled by a really terrible place.
Yeah.
I have no issue with it at all. But I never do. I love characters that are just like willpower and emotion win the day. That's my jam all day long, and I'm not ashamed of it. It doesn't make sense, and I'm fine with that.
Well,
Super Saiyan because Krillin died.
I love it.
Just him.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
How dare you?
It's another showing our age again.
my thoughts on Shinra are that while I think he has some really great moments in this, there's a fight where his approach to the fight felt very unique. I love his animation style. I love his art style. He doesn't really grab me as a shonen character, like I said in the beginning. He just doesn't really have the flaw a major character needs. It feels like all his things he needs to overcome are external opponents he needs to be stronger than, and there's no internal thing he needs to get past. He does have a past where he was called a devil and he's decided to be a hero, but you never see him like grappling with being devilish. He never is like torn at should I be heroic or should I be devilish? I don't want to be devilish, but that's my inclination. That's not there. There's no real internal struggle. And I do like what you said, Jason, that maybe it's coming with this. I'm so over obsessed with heroics, it's going to have a cost later. But for now, he's just he's smart. He's not overly hot-headed, but he is courageous. He's just kind of good in every single way. Usually, and I'm glad it's not just that he's stupid. That is usually what they do to anime protagonists. But now we have like Midoriya from My Hero Academia, who is a little overly timid, a little overly passive, and has to overcome that in his fights and like get mad, get active in the fight. I need something like that from Shinra for me to actually care about him as our main protagonist. And so it's not that I don't like him, it's just as a main character, I think he needs a little bit more.
Kind of like a male equivalent of a Mary Sue.
Real quick, the sound design in this entire anime is fantastic. Like the explosions, the fire sound, the ambiance, yeah, just absolutely.
Yeah, you're right.
Sound design, action sequences are, and even the way they use like there's like one scene where they show his face and they like fisheye it and make it real creepy. I really love how they play with art like that. They're willing to bend their art style and do imagery like that. All top notch. Nothing but kudos for me on that.
It's got like blood dripping out of his pupil. That was amazing.
Also, there is Arthur, who we get in this scene. They come out and they see the twin girls fighting of this force. And he goes up and like punches one or throws her into a wall, and everyone's like, "You're not a good idiot. You're a bad idiot.
You're a bad idiot."
And then he ends up being completely right because idiots are also savants, of course. Well, what do we think of Arthur this half?
Actually, one of my favorite moments is the lady that could control people's minds. Either he heats plasma, or he's just so dumb that she can't. She can't infect him. He didn't seem to have much growth in the second half. He seemed to be very, I'm a Night King. This is my thing. But I did love, as much as I hate the feeling power spike, I feel more like a knight. My sword gets stronger. It was actually pretty great. I love that.
I also like he acknowledges it. Like, you need to make me feel like a knight or this don't work. He knows, he's fully aware of how stupid he is.
Somehow Jason, that doesn't bother me. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, Jason, last time you said you couldn't stand him. Was he more palatable this time?
I think so, and I think it's because we didn't have too much of the feuding between him and Shinra. It was more of them figuring out how to at least fight together, and then also
good scene.
At the end of the day, he is heroic. Like, he will throw himself into the fray for others because that's what is right, not because that's his job. And so I think with the couple scenes of his fight scenes, it kind of turned me around to him. It's where he's not so irritating, and his stupidities have been endearing.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love Arthur. He's in the second half. He's definitely my favorite character. He has some of the best scenes. There's one I don't want to spoil until we get to it, but it involves a donkey and it's great. But yeah, Arthur's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I thought his comedy worked very well. I found myself laughing and rooting for him. And even his heroic moment ended up being really cool, unlike another character we'll talk about later. Which we're going to jump into Company 8 now. We have the Captain Obi, we have Hinawa, the Lieutenant, Maki, the current temporary assignment Tomaki, and the sister Iris, the nun on their team. Thoughts on any of their arcs throughout this half and how they changed? They didn't get a lot of screen time, most of them.
Maybe Maki changed a little bit, but it was more of a change in fighting style than anything about her personality, which was really cool. I liked what they did with her. They definitely accentuated her talents already, turning her physical fighting into something that could be used at range. But Yeah, most of them didn't really get much growth. The spotlight was really on the relationship between Shinra and whoever he happened to bump into, and especially his brother.
Yeah, I think Maki would be the only one that stood out for me. But yeah, she didn't have a ton of change. I did like the equipment upgrade she got, but and I love that they have a girl that is drawn pretty much like the rest of them, as far as like a pretty anime girl. But she's absolute powerhouse, and has some really great moments to shine in battle.
The only one I want to make a comment on is Tomiki. Last time I was like, yeah, I feel like she's going to become a really good character, and I'm fine with the Lucky Lecture lure. I flipped on it. No longer like the Lucky Lecture lure. I think they didn't pay it off, and I don't like the character. I think they failed her in this season, or this half.
Oh, see, I got a kick out of it because it seemed like the way her Lucky Lecture lure paid off in the end was kind of like the end of a joke, right? Like all this time, that ability was not even her fighting ability, but it wound up winning the fight for her. And not every character is amazing in combat. Some of them, their power. It's like there's a luck mutant, isn't that right? In like the second. Yeah, right. So it kind of, to me, that's what Lucky Lecture lure is in the same flavor, but just happens to be lecherous instead of just lucky.
I think the joke should have ended with them attempting to find who was the real her.
Oh, that one was great.
And she fell over and it happened, and
yeah,
I was actually okay with that one because it was like, okay, we've got this stupid joke on running. Oh, how do we find out who's who? Oh, okay, yeah, definitely her. If they had ended it there, I think I would have been okay with it. But yeah, the fight was just over the edge for me.
Well, right around that same time, Arthur has his fight, and there's comedy and jokes about Arthur, and he still gets his "I'm a cool shonen character" moment. Then Tomoki's comes, and I'm like, okay, cool. They're gonna make this character finally worth it. This is her moment, and they went back to the joke instead and threw that moment away. So now she just doesn't have it. She got the flashback. She got the okay, I'm going, and then boob joke instead. And I was like, okay, well then never mind. You didn't have a value in the story at all.
Not only that, but they hyped up this bad guy to be this like deadly assassin, and then that happens. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I was really into that fight, and I was okay with the joke right before it with the two Tomokis. I did think that joke was funny. It was just that I thought this that fight, well. The fact that this fight ended with a joke made the fight not matter to me, and now Tomoki doesn't matter.
I thought that the fact that he had such a reputation as like he's gonna come in and he's gonna kill all of them. Like we probably don't even need to send any support for him. He's the assault. He's gonna slaughter everybody. So he's apparently supposed to be this incredible warrior, and she actually did manage to deflect one of his crazy bullets. So I thought this was enough for me. But I mean, I totally see where you guys are coming from. But yeah, I guess I power scaled her there, and I was like, I guess that's her limit. That's where she was power wise. He was astonished that his ultimate attack could be deflected, and he also had a weakness for the booby. So.
I did like them beating him to death. That joke was also fun.
Yeah, they had like the rats sitting there eating in front of the screen.
She had the whole like, I am a soldier, I can do this, and then no, you can't. You needed your boob power to do it, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Lecherous powers.
And then
that's right.
We also, in this scene, a bunch of infernals start show up we're back in like a Edo, Japan section of town. And all these fires are bursting out because the white robes are attacking, and we find out a bunch of townspeople are accusing each other of different things because one of them has the power to shape-shift other people's faces with fire.
Yeah.
We made that joke last time. Like, of course that's going to be a fire power, and apparently it is. You just fire someone's face and you can change its shape.
You got to be careful though, because you might accidentally explode their face.
So
Accidentally, I think he did it on purpose.
Yeah.
they were arguing at first. So they wanted to cause chaos with the face changing. Then the Infernals
Then the
started showing up.
Infernos go up. And so
Yeah.
the captain of the 7th, Shinmon, is out. He was already investigating, so he's getting involved in this. Thoughts on Shinmon, who we were introduced to as the most powerful of the captains, because he has 2nd and 3rd generation, which means he can both generate fire and control fire. Your guys' thoughts?
I thoroughly enjoy this character. He's the reluctant hero, the reluctant captain. He's unsure of himself. He thinks all he knows how to do is destroy. He can't command or lead or create. And he still will do the right thing, even if it is very reluctant. But I do love that at his heart he wants to help people, and also I love the idea that this entire world is split up into these 2 categories of users, and here he is. He can do both, which lends to a really cool finishing move. But I kind of wish we had gotten more of him. But obviously, he's more of a mentor than he is a main character.
I loved his unorthodox solutions. Like, I absolutely loved what he decided to do, and I think that that's a real window into his mind, and that he has a different perspective on things because of growing up where he did, and he wants to. He's right when he says that he only knows how to solve things a certain way, and that is through fists, destruction. And it works sometimes, like that. Sometimes that can get you an out of the box approach that might actually succeed. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this character as well, especially when he kind of softened up at the end, and yet it was all external. He was still being a total jerk, but it was funny when he was drinking the sake and he has like this silly grin, but he's like, "Yeah, I'll beat you down anytime. Come on, what are you looking at?"
I love the little weakness for the sauce. He gets a little happy when he starts drinking.
Yep.
Yeah, I liked him, and he was a good training character. Like, hey, now we've established this guy as an ally. He also made a really good kind of a protagonist, because he does have like this internal conflict he needs to overcome, but he's also powerful on the outside. It was cool to watch.
What are you trying to say?
Something I haven't already said.
You're picking on Shinra.
I'm trying to give kudos where the anime deserves it. That's all.
Oh,
that's true.
Fair enough.
That's true.
The 8th is then attacked by the sniper white robe character, whose name is Arrow. That was in the last episodes. And so,
apparently the only reason Arrow managed to hit the other guy was because he was encased in ice and couldn't move. Because if anybody can move, Arrow can't hit them.
Yeah, one guy lost his arm, and then other people are taking arrows directly to the chest, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stung a little bit."
Exactly.
Shinra and Arthur go after. This is a very funny scene because Shinra starts flying. He's like, "Arthur, I'll tell you which way to go." He's like, "Yeah, but don't use complicated words like north or left.
Oh,
You get the point."
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And they go, and there's another white robe there, so it's a 2-on-2 battle. They find out they're not really good at fighting together. They keep bumping into each other. All these white robe, villains are like working in perfect tandem at perfect ranges and stuff. And they kind of just agree to get out of each other's way. And they're like, "We'll separate them," and then they don't do that either.
No.
The not Arrow, but the other guy they're fighting actually swallows one of the bugs, and he becomes an Infernal. And not just a regular Infernal, he becomes a demon Infernal. So he has horns, and he's extra powerful. We had kind of talked about how those demon ones existed, and it turns out they are just like Super Saiyan Infernals.
Yeah.
Um,
Can't tell if they retain their intelligence. It didn't seem like he did.
Didn't he talk? I thought he talked.
I thought
Did
he
he?
did.
I thought he said
And
some
he was
words.
also still like protecting Arrow, right?
Did his talking make sense, or was it just mindless? Like, I'm gonna
I thought
kill
he said
you.
something
Like
to him.
that. Okay,
I mean,
maybe
could
he
be
did
wrong.
then.
Okay. Shinmon then goes to Conroe and he's like, Conroe, there's fire everywhere. No one knows where to evacuate. They're running in all kinds of different directions. Everyone's so mad at each other. I need you to help me sort this out. And Conroe's like, no, you're the leader. You got this. So he has to do it himself. And he goes into the fire tower and then has like the post turn into rockets and launches himself into the sky. And he calls out to the crowd. He's like, we're going to figure this out. Here's what we do. Everyone just start fighting because we're the toughest people in Tokyo and we don't lose fights. So if you're winning, that guy must be a fake.
Yeah.
And that's what the people do. They just start punching each other happily. And this becomes like a giant celebration.
Yeah, fight festival.
While he's up there, though, he does see the demon infernal, and so he goes to take care of that, and he helps Shinra and Arthur. He uses his. They look like mops. I know they're like flags.
Yes,
they're like
they do.
it's a cultural thing, and I'm being very insensitive, but they just look like giant mops that he
They
sets
really
on
do.
fire and rides. And he rockets this guy into the sky. Conroe sees it and is like, "Oh, I gotta help him. Oh wait, I forgot I'm an invalid and I'm weak." And he falls down and he calls out for help. And Shinra's psychic shins.
But you missed why he called out for help.
Because he remembers.
Oh, because Arrow. No, you're right. Arrow's gonna take the shot.
Yeah.
And Arrow has taken the shot, and the Arrow's chasing him. Okay, just something that really bugs me, and after everything I let slide, it makes no sense. It bugs me, but Shinra's psychic shins have ribs.
I know.
When they buzz, there's like it shows his bones, but there's ribs in there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
does he have ribs? Is he linking the ribs?
I have no clue.
Talking about the black, like skeleton-looking thing.
Yeah, but it appears in his shins when
Yeah, it's like
he solo links.
I think that's more of an artistic communication than it is like his actual formation of bones inside his leg.
But when the ending plays and we watch the nervous system, I kept staring at the legs like, are there ribs in there? Okay.
The one thing that upsets me about the way they tell Conroe's story, or at least the way he's portrayed, he's a great mentor character, but he's either on his deathbed or he's up and around, moving around just fine. Like literally, he's always on his deathbed. It's like, okay, either he's gonna die, or just stop making him so fragile.
I think there's people that have good days, bad days that are like badly hurt, and days where they can be more active, and days where they get really tired, or it's like gonna rain, so they feel pain more.
I cracked up when after he had the conversation with him and he was laying on his deathbed. He's like, "Oh man, after talking to you guys, I feel so much better now. I'm gonna go out and do stuff." And he just gets up, and all he's done is just told him this story for this short period of time. And he is rejuvenated. I really thought they were gonna kill him off here. I thought that this was gonna be his like, "Oh man, I have to save my buddy, and I will be removed as an excuse for him in the future. So I'm gonna go out, take out this arrow with my ability." And so I was kind of surprised they didn't do that. I'm glad they didn't, but I'm surprised.
So Shinra launches himself into the sky and manages to catch the arrow and kick it off course. And then Shinron's able to defeat the demon, which turns the moon red, which does happen with fire. That's kind of normal thing.
Did he turn the moon red, or did he create a fireball that looked like the moon?
I thought he turned the moon red. Like
I thought,
it was
yeah.
so still. It looked like a moon to me. It didn't look like a fireball.
I've been near a forest fire once, and the sky did turn red when the fire got close. That is a thing.
Okay.
So that's what I assumed happened. And then Shinra catches him and takes him down. Now, I gotta ask, this guy can make fire, and he seems to be able to make fire however he wants, wherever he wants. Couldn't he make his own feet shoot fire?
I would think so.
I would think so as well, but maybe in this moment he used up a ton of his oxygen doing this final move.
Okay.
I loved the way he was sitting in Shinra's arms. He's like got his leg hooked over the other leg, and he just kind of relaxed. Like, I'm in a recliner. I am dignified, and I'm not being carried by a little kid back down to the street.
And they don't land at like the nearest point. Like Shinra like flies across the town with him.
Yeah.
And then
It was a Superman moment.
Yep, the town begins working on rebuilding, and Shinmon's like, "You ate there, all right with me. We're friends now, and we will help you with stuff. Let's have a drink." And then the little girls say, "If you show up without candy, we'll be very mad." And then that doesn't pay off, so that's not good continuity.
Oh yeah, and then we also saw that the little girls had like their entire kimonos light up on fire. Like, they get scary.
Yeah, like
cool.
fox form.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there were some other action beats within that thing, like Maki blocking the arrow with her fire control powers. Yeah, we just focus on the important stuff here.
Just skipping it.
Just skipping around. The White Robes report back to Sho, who is Shinra's brother, and he's currently leading this mission. But we find out he is not the evangelist that we might have thought he might be. He is actually working for the evangelist. But this is our first. He might have appeared, but this is our first time really meeting Sho. What do you guys think of Sho, our villain / victim, princess in distress?
Yeah. He looks so much like an angel, as his brother said.
So, I love this character in concept, and I do like the link he has to our main protagonist. However, if he's that much younger, his strikes seem awfully strong for someone of his size and age. Also, his special power, which we'll learn about later, bugs me. But it's cool. I'll have to say, it is really cool.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite part about him is the storyline of his brother trying to save him. And I think it pays off really well. But yeah, I think he's a cool villain / victim / protagonist motivation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. He's I thought they did him a pretty good job given his situation and circumstances and just like how he got to that spot. It was really interesting how when they actually finished up this season, I'm a little bit torn on what I think he was actually trying to do. I'm not 100% sure, but it's kind of cool seeing that, you know, he might have actually changed, possibly. We don't really know from his encounter with his brother. So yeah, he's probably got one of the better arcs of all the characters in this particular half season.
Yeah, I like him as a villain, and I like him as a goalpost for the main character to reach out for. I have a bit of an issue with Jason's complaints, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
You complained about his power level, which is the ability to expand the universe with heat.
No, not expand.
Or shrink?
Slow the expansion.
Slow the expansion, and so thus freeze time. Also, the fact that he is strong. And it's just the difference between those two complaints. Like, which one is more unbelievable? That a 15-year-old is strong, or a guy has so much power he can slow the expansion of the universe? It's just, it feels weird to complain about both those at the same time. Like, if you can't get past one, the other one's never gonna happen.
He hits people so hard they fly into concrete pillars.
he also slows the expansion of the entire universe.
Right, but that to me that's a completely different power set because that's related to his Adola burst.
What?
It's never explained that the Adola burst helps him swing swords harder.
I agree.
I guess it helps Shinra kick harder, right?
It's like being upset there's an ant on your table when your entire kitchen is a hornet's nest that you can't even walk in anymore. Like, guys, I'm upset about the hornet's nest that has grown over my entire kitchen and this one ant. I feel like one complaint doesn't match up to the other. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
I can still be upset about both.
Now, my complaint is his boots are drawn weird, and it looks like he doesn't have feet. And if he doesn't have feet, that's actually a really interesting concept because his brother is all about feet. So.
I found that weird too.
They're all like that. All of the white cloaks.
They had those weird booties.
Yeah, it was driving me crazy the whole time.
All right. Company 8 is given a scientist to help join their team. And we've met this character before, but we've never really talked about him. It's Victor, who was the guy who was bossing Joker around. And we assumed, and kind of still do, or we don't, he's a villain. He's this super eccentric, crazy, but brilliant scientist who clearly has his own agenda and his own task force. Now he's joined the 8th. And he seems earnest in wanting them to win.
I love this character so much. I think his eccentricism is a great join to the cast. I love that he's very mysterious because we thought he was one of this third faction or second faction of bad guys, right? And he seems to have goals aligned with the 8th because when him and Joker are talking later at the crime scene, they're discussing their plans are aligned with what the 8th is doing. So it's weird. So I'm totally into finding out more about him and Joker. But as far as his performance and his contributions and the way, the scenes, he's in for the rest of this half of the anime. It's so great. I love this character so much.
He was so put out when he shows up and they're all like, yeah, we need to go get a mechanic. And he's like, but I can do that. I can handle maintenance. And they're like, no, we've got this other guy that we want to go get. He was so put out. It was so funny. And yeah, throughout every opportunity that he had, he was really funny. There's a particular scene where I really enjoyed his perspective because I just saw him mirroring my own thoughts as he was saying out loud what he was thinking about what he was watching and how, oh man, these power levels, they're so crazy, horrible things could happen. Should I tell them? No, maybe not, because I might be able to see something really, really cool. There's only one chance in a lifetime to see this really cool thing. So yeah, he's a really good character.
I did love how the way he's drawn is so unsettling, to say the least.
Yeah.
But what was it? They were talking about him in the captain's meeting. And I forget her name, but she asks Obi, like, do we trust this guy? He didn't say yes or no. He just said he does good work.
I loved what they did with this character, that they introduced him in a very way that's very much like, hey guys, main villain right here. And then at this point, they're like, hey guys, main cast member right here. And we're like, wait, which is he? And he's very off-putting in a very fun way. He seems like he's on the brink of insanity at any time while he's watching the final battle. He's like trying to, okay, what is the science of this fight? That doesn't make any sense, but I am loving what I'm seeing.
Yes.
Like he's in very much danger unless he does have some power set we don't know about. He's putting his life in jeopardy just to see what's happening. And he's just a very fun character. And his English dub voice actor nails his inflection that makes him just so off-putting. And
So
I'm sure his Japanese voice is good too, but I loved his dub voice.
It's funny too because Joker's asking him like, well, is this is this something that's going to work out? Like, should you have joined the 8th? Like, this seems like a problem. He's like, I don't know, got me access to this crime scene.
All right. Yeah, like you guys mentioned, the 8th now wants an engineer and they want to enlist Vulcan, but everyone knows Vulcan hates Fire Force. So they send Shinra and Arthur and Iris to go enlist him, wearing casual clothes. But he's like, but don't trick him. Don't be like, we're not Fire Force, but then BR. Tell him you're Fire Force, but don't be super Fire Force. Just keep it casual. So they go and he throws pop cans at him, or he has a machine that throws pop cans at you. It's hard to tell which sometimes.
Or his girlfriend throws them at you.
Yep, or his girlfriend will throw them at you. And he basically just tells him to piss off. He doesn't like fire soldiers. They meet. His name is Vulcan, and he's very much like into death metal. When he works on stuff, he drums it instead of like actually building it, and it comes out perfect. And he always kicks everything he builds, because if it's not going to survive being kicked through a wall, what's the point of building it in the first place? Thoughts on Vulcan?
Vulcan was a great cast member. Again, another character without powers, which I thought was a really great choice. That we don't have this world just stacked full of people with powers, and then you have Obi, but now we've got a couple more people to join the crew that are powerless, and they bring their own strengths. Plus, this guy's backstory is great. He hates Hajime, and his relationship with the bird captain.
Oh, with the bird captain.
Yeah, bird captain.
Giovanni.
Yeah, Giovanni. That's right. It's great, and I love his attitude. This was a solid character to join the cast.
I think for me, the greatest value that he brought to the table was Lisa, and his relationship with her, and just the things that she's gone through, and how he handles what he can handle of that situation. That was really cool to me. I liked seeing it. She has a bit of Stockholm syndrome going on, as we discover, and but he's not going to give up, and that's the anime trope. But I liked it. So yeah, he's pretty cool. Otherwise, he kind of, beyond that, he's almost a little bit boring to me. For me, his main value comes with Lisa.
First off, I have a bit of a crush on Lisa, and then to find out she's mad and crazy, and it's like, that makes sense. I think really the value I see in him is his link to the lore, whereas like his father and grandfather built the power factory that really is at the center of all this conspiracy, right? That it has the Adola flame that powers the world, or what's left of the world, and that he has the holographic projector that has animals. Like he's like the only guy who's like, remember whales, guys? Whales were a thing, and birds were a thing. I want to bring that all back, and no one's at this point even cared about that. They're like, hey, we're just gonna take care of this city. There's a guy with bigger dreams, and I like that. That they introduced a character who's like, yeah, there are people who want to fix the world. Also, his armor is a penguin suit,
and he calls it a mech.
Yep. He turns into a penguin mech, and that's kind of amazing.
He really takes his love of animals seriously.
Yep.
I know we're going to get to it, but do we believe he knew where the key was?
I think he did not, actually.
I'm wondering.
Yeah, I think that his father or grandfather put the key in there and never told him they did. Just a guess.
Okay. Thanks to his young helper apprentice, they are able to get inside and talk to him. He's still kind of gruff with them, but Iris pushes all the buttons in his building, sets off all these traps and catapults. But then General Grievous shows up. I mean, Dr. Giovanni shows up.
Yeah, exactly.
and he is our kind of our secondary big villain. Turns out to be exactly the stereotype you thought when you first saw him.
Yep.
What'd you guys think of Dr. Giovanni?
He's an interesting villain because he's one of these not only gadget, I can do all the gadget stuff. I'm also powered as far as like a pyrotechnic. But he seems to be a master strategist as well, and very little gets past him. Um, but I love his flaw of if he plans meticulously and something doesn't go according to his plan, he loses his mind.
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic as far as a villain. That he's so used to things going his way that he ends up throwing a temper tantrum because he doesn't understand why his plan isn't working. He seems he seems like a discount Iron Man when it comes to fighting. But yeah, I think he was a pretty good bad guy. I would like it, he was sinister enough to be believable as far as like he's infiltrated the Fire Force but he's with these other bad guys.
I really like his other flaw that they point out near the end in the final fight, especially as a rival to Vulcan, is that as far as like mechanicals and inventions go, he's a quantity over quality guy. His stuff is kind of crap and falls apart easy. Whereas Vulcan is, I'll kick this through a wall to make sure it survives. This is a guy whose stuff falls apart easily, and I love that contrast. That he's the quick, easy, whatever's flashy, but he doesn't really have the quality build that he needs to be as strong as this Vulcan if they had a one-on-one fight. I thought that was cool.
I also loved how he had this running gag where basically he would taunt you with things you don't know and then tell you he knows all of them, and he's not going to tell you any of them. But then he actually does proceed to go through and tell you all of them.
He'd be like, "You tell me." Okay, you talked me into it. I will tell you the entire plot.
Yeah,
that argument was very convincing.
And he is a guy that he's definitely a sadist. He enjoys causing pain, and like we really see that with Lisa. But yeah, I think that makes him easy to dislike, easy to hate.
Yes,
just
absolutely
very good.
So Giovanni does come to recruit Vulcan, obviously multiple times, and has gone out of his way to like ruin his business and do whatever he takes to put pressure on him. Vulcan, of course, still says no. He's like, okay, well, that's your last warning. And then the Fire Force guys leave, and Shinra gets another psychic link through his shins that Dr. Giovanni is going to attack Vulcan, so they decide to stay and help. We also get there's a pause in the story here. So at the beginning of this episode, they talk about Raffles the First finding the flame that powers the world, and I just want to say, last episode we met the current Pope, Raffles the Third, which matches up perfectly with the amount of generations of fire users we've seen. So there's Raffles the First, Second, and Third, and then first generation, third generation. And Raffles the Third is pretty old, and we are about to break into a fourth generation. But why the name Raffles?
I have no idea.
They think that was cool. Is that cool in Japan, and we're just not getting it? It's a really silly name for a Pope.
That's probably exactly what it is, because that happens a lot. And
right.
A lot of the main characters come up with these names that are just, I don't know where they come from.
So two battles happen at the same time. Shinra trying to get Scout gets caught by Dr. Giovanni and basically gets the crap kicked out of him as he pulls his Inspector Gadget tricks on him and electrocutes Shinra until he's knocked down and plans to capture him. Meanwhile, the two white robes he brought, one is Mirage, who can do illusions, and the other is Flail, who can make a fire flail. They're not great with names. Very straightforward. And so Arthur, not having any of his weaponry and stuff, is like, I can't fight. I don't feel like a knight. You have to make me feel like a knight. And so Vulcan builds him all this gear and like puts a tarp over his shoulders and puts a donkey on his crotch.
Literally. right in front.
Just the head of a donkey right there. That's your steed silver. And
And I
his
love
mind,
the image. I love the imagery that they do in his brain of like being full suit clad on this huge, beautiful horse,
Mhm.
and in reality,
Just a donkey on his crotch.
but it works. He has a giant sword. He comes out and like wipes away all the illusion clones, and is holding his own against these two white robe guys until the Mirage guy turns into him, and Arthur is like, is that me? Is that that's what I look like right now? Well, that is so disappointing.
not very knightly.
Bill,
And then he gets his butt
his
kicked.
sword decreases in size by many, many factors.
Giovanni then just walks by, goes into the workshop, and goes to get Vulcan. Vulcan's like, hey, little guy and my girlfriend leave. And his girlfriend's like, actually, I'm a bad guy, and I have fire magnetism powers. I'm Fire Magneto.
Yes. Although they seem involuntary. That's one thing that's kind of cool. I did like that about it, where it was like she just sets them loose and maybe creates the bulk amount of them, but then is like, yeah, they get attracted to magnetic stuff. And your bioelectric signal, your biomagnetism, that's clearly the most magnetic thing in this room that's filled with
In this metal
motors.
workshop.
Yes. There are motors in here filled with magnets.
Are they made of fire? Or are they made of lava? Like seriously.
Yeah, they look like gelatin or like lava lamp. Yeah.
They also auto protect her too,
Right.
Mhm.
which does not work on electromagnetism. So what?
Yeah. Exactly. It's all a lie.
It's all a lie.
You know,
It's all a lie.
I said in our last episode, and I stand by it, that they really kind of put themselves in a corner by saying only fire powers, but then wanting to have all of the powers.
Yes.
How can we make a fire guy freeze time? I have an idea.
Oh,
Actually, I
God.
love their explanation for it. By the way, I just think it's ridiculous.
Fair enough. Giovanni beats on Vulcan, and then he breaks that hollow projector I mentioned that shows the animals, and that has the key to the power generator that he's needed. Does he get the key?
Yeah, he puts it in his beak, and it looks like a USB stick.
Which I don't know what this key is for. Nobody knows what this key's for yet. I mean,
It gets
the
you
key to
entrance.
Amaterasu, but
Yeah, to
what?
like break it. So there's probably some kind of data on the USB drive. If it's a USB drive, that's going to let them see like some kind of weakness or vulnerability in the structure where they can like destroy it. Some pivotal vulnerability.
Or according to what Crown Eye Face Lady says, they just need to steal the Adola burst inside for their purposes.
Which is it an Adola burst that's not attached to a person, or is it an Adola
We
burst
don't know.
that is
All they
attached
keep
to a
saying is
person?
that it's a pure Adola burst flame that powers Amaterasu. That's all we know. And we don't know if that means it's inside a person or
I kind of
if
suspect that
on a
it's the
stick.
evangelist. I wonder if the evangelist is powering everything. I've been wondering that for quite a while now.
Guess we'll find out in season 2.
I have my own thoughts on the
Maybe.
evangelist.
Okay.
Sure. I did forget to mention he shoots a little kid in the chest, but don't worry. Chest wounds in this universe, minimal damage.
Yeah, it's just a long.
Yeah, and then Princess Hibana shows up. We haven't really talked about her. She doesn't really have any character growth except for she finds Shinra and she's like, I mean, I could leave you tied up like this, and lets him go and is immediately like, I regret that decision.
Oh.
Now, when he was tied up, he still had his shirt on, so I don't know what happened there.
Don't worry about it.
There's probably a really good. Yeah, there's probably a really good reason why he was running.
Shinra flies in and he enters into the workshop and helps start fighting Giovanni. Princess Ivana helps Arthur and gets rid of all the illusions. And then Sho shows up, and Shinra meets his brother for the first time. And he's like, dude, you're my brother. And Sho's like, gross, and smacks him really hard, cuts Arthur. But they are saved thanks to the timely arrival of Victor in a truck.
And Joker. Holy crap.
Joker,
I
yep.
never imagined Joker would be able to go toe-to-toe with Sho.
Which I have a feeling Joker didn't either, because Joker's like, ooh, an Adola burst. Let's see how this goes. And then after he fights him, he's like, okay, that was for real. That was intense.
That was really scary. Yeah. But I did think it was interesting. Even Sho called out, like, he doesn't have an Adola burst, but he's actually keeping up in his freeze time mode. That was, like, it really makes me curious about Joker. I really want to know what Joker is.
And he said the same thing about Arthur, because he was surprised that wasn't a killing blow to Arthur.
Yeah, Arthur reacted. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm kind of hoping Joker and Victor aren't villains, that they're actually good guys, just that the government is its own villainy, right? That there is this conspiracy and they're actually the good guys. I kind of am hoping that's the case.
That's
my secret desire.
Yep.
Vulcan, then after they all go to the hospital, he's lost Lisa, the kid's in the hospital, he's going to be okay though. Vulcan agrees, I'll come stay at the 8th with you guys and basically join the company. And they have a big meal. And then they return to the workshop so he can say goodbye to his father and grandfather's grave. And basically be like, hey, remember how I promised I'd never join Fire Force? I'm gonna join Fire Force.
Yeah.
Then we get the nice training episode. Basically, Conroe and Kareem, who are characters from the first half, show up and they're like, hey, let's all share information. We're all the clearly good guys. Let's share information about what we figured out about this white robe cult. And meanwhile, Victor and Joker shows up, are investigating where the fight took place to try to figure out where the bad guys are hiding. And Joker points out to Victor, like, they've got to get stronger. I fought that kid, and that was for real. They're not going to be able to handle this. And Victor's like, all right, I'll see what I can do.
He's so crazy. I love it.
Conroe volunteers, and this is in a separate conversation, volunteers to Obi that they'll take Arthur and Shinra and get them trained in hand-to-hand combat to make them stronger so they're ready for fighting the White Robes. So that's kind of where they're lacking. And so he takes them to Shinmon. He's like, Shinmon, you got to train these guys. Shinmon's like, ah, fine. And he beats on them for a while. Basically what happens here is Victor shows up here and he's like, hey, I love what you guys have done with the place. I'm crazy eccentric scientist. I wanted to see what was happening. Shinra should focus the flames on his feet like jet engines so that he'll be faster. And he ends up figuring out how to do this using hand signs for chakra. So
which,
now we're Naruto.
In a way, I mean, that does... I'm okay with that one. In a way, because like the meridian lines and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's very East Asian, not mythology, but like, belief system of how energy flows through the body. And
that's fine, but I wanted it to say the devil horns because they talked about the devil horn rock movement, and then it ended up being like tiger claw instead. And I'm like, I mean, it would have been really cool if he was doing demon horns because the devil flying around at top speed.
I love that when he did do the demon horns, that his feet kind of exploded.
Yeah. Makes me wonder if that is going to come into play at some point in the future. If like his what did he say? Yeah, your feet just farted or something.
Yeah,
that's what they said in the sub. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Vulcan makes magnet grenades. Totally not going to be used on his girlfriend. And Arthur learns about listening for what they call the breath of life. Basically, quit going after every feint. Only care about real attacks, because you fall for everything. You're not paying attention. He's paying too much attention to the wrong things. guess that's the best way to clean. Victor then tells everyone where the villains are hiding. They're in the Nether. Like, oh, the secret underworld that was in children's stories. He's like, no, the subway. It's Japanese subways.
It's just a subway.
They need to place some obsidian in a block. Oh wait, wrong Nether.
Right. There is something I wanted to ask you guys about because right before this mission starts, which is our final arc, Shinra has a dream, and he dreams of Iris and fire. What is that? Is there something secret going on with Iris? I assumed at this point we were done with Iris. Okay, her orphanage burned down, but it seems kind of like she's got something bigger going on.
I wonder if it has to do with him connecting psychically to her past and seeing the thing that's been tormenting her. But it didn't seem like I would have expected them to draw her as a child or something there, or maybe have lots of dead bodies around her or something. So honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing because I kind of dropped that. So that might be something that's brought up in the next season.
It was a very deliberate scene, and again, I assumed this is going to come up in this arc, and it does not. It wasn't until I was going back through my notes I saw it.
He is a pubescent teenage boy, though.
Yeah, and that does seem to be the ship they're heading towards, but it seemed like it was more than that to me.
Yeah, me too.
Also, she's a nun. And
what are you trying to say?
Pick your battles.
For some people, that just makes it more interesting.
I guess that's true. Oh, Sound of Music. I mean, what?
Yeah. There you go.
So, Squad 8 enters the Nether, and everyone, the whole team, including Victor and Vulcan. But when they get there, they get hit with smoke, they get hit with fake illusions and fake people, and mirages and face-shaped people. So they all get split up.
I love the doors start opening and everyone starts freaking out. Like, they know we're here. Oh, they're inviting us in. And Victor Vulcan's like, what? I just hit the button. The electricity's still on.
Yeah.
And then there's a comedy scene that works very well for me. We kind of talked about it earlier. Iris is sitting there. She's holding the hand of two Tamakis. And one Tamaki's like, it's me. I'm Tamaki. And the other one's like, I'm Tamaki. and the real one's like, how would you think that's not me? Obviously, she's like, oh, I can't tell.
My eyes light up. I have cat ears.
Yeah, I made cat ears. Well, she's just doing that to prove she's not me. That's rude.
Yeah, that was so good.
And it wasn't until all her clothes fall off that Iris realizes she's the real one.
Yeah,
but they are attacked by a guy named Assault, who's like the ultimate Terminator of the white robes because he makes fire bullets.
Yep.
I thought his powers were dumb.
He could combine two bullets into one really cool looking bullet and then make that come after you.
If you're gonna have a quick throwaway fight, please don't use a cool character, I guess.
Yeah.
And Maki takes on Flail and a bunch of his soldiers, and I absolutely love that fight because they're all like, "Oh, we got her." She's like, "Oh, you guys are kind of screwed."
Well, she got mechs for Sputter and Flame, so.
I love the pilot steer stations.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had talked about last time how she's defense, and I love that they gave her offense in this half. And she kicks their butt. And
God, the animation for it is so good of her martial arts.
Yeah.
Cool. And Tamaki technically wins her fight, but I've already complained about that enough. And then they beat that man his head in with pipes, her and Iris.
That was so dark.
Was he like dead? Because his body was gone at the end.
His body's gone at the end.
Well,
like, no one died.
Bloody pipe, but his body's gone.
Like he was, because there was like goop that was in the pixelated region of his head, like as if they had bashed his brains out. So you're probably right. He's probably not. I mean, it is a shonen, and rarely do characters die in shonen.
And the guy gets a sword through his heart, and they're like, well, just hold on, you're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
There's another character who gets sliced in half, and he's also missing. So it is very possible he did die, but I would also very much expect to see them back. I'll say that at least. Because they do make a show of showing they're not there, their bodies are not there anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't think the bad guys would pick them up just to have their corpses. I think there's a purpose for them at least being missing.
That makes sense.
Then we go to Hinawa, and he has to fight Arrow in a dark tunnel. So basically, the 8th gunner versus the White Robes sniper. And he has these giant cannons with regular bullets, but he puts all his power behind them, so they turn into giant sound wave producing machines. And they have just this big old shootout. And I know we have problems with his bullet powers and how they don't make sense, but I absolutely love that when his bullet hits her fire arrow, he uses that to kick the bullet harder at her.
Yeah.
And that's what wins. I thought that was a cool moment.
Really cool.
So there was nothing that I had to complain about this fight as far as his powers, because he didn't do any weird wonky ricochets where stuff was stopping midair and changing direction.
Well, he did it off.
What's that?
He did it off screen, but you're right. Like, he never had to wave it in our face.
Right.
Because he did say, like, oh, I've sent the shotgun shells down there and tried to clear the area, but I couldn't find her. So, but it was totally off screen.
This was probably one of the better shootout style fights I've seen in anime in a long time. It was exciting. It was tense. Either character really didn't know where the other one was, but they knew that they were shooting at each other because it was dark. And even though at the end of the day, we know there were no stakes. Just like, this is an ending arc. This is just to get us to the next stage. But it felt they did a good job in ramping up those stakes for these characters, and I really enjoyed this whole sequence.
So after he wins the fight, he collapses against this pillar, and the face guy, who has a name and I just don't remember it.
Mirage.
Oh, it's Mirage.
Oh,
and
the artist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They come out and they're like,
human.
yeah, they say he's not human, and he even says he's not human, which...
What the heck is he?
They come out to kill him, and he's like, oh, you're going to get me when I'm down? They're like, yeah, of course, that was the plan the whole time. We knew she'd wear you down, and that no matter how the fight ended, we could get you. And he shoots Mirage through the head, and then it turns out that's an illusion. And Mirage is like, you missed. He's like, did I? And he's like, I didn't miss. And I absolutely loved how the anime set this up. So the rubble falls from the ceiling, and you just see the top of Arthur's hair go doink, and you hear the little doink sound, and then it cuts to the commercial screen, and then on the coming back to commercial screen, you hear doink, 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 and then Arthur appears on the screen, and he's standing on the rubble, and I don't think he jumped down. I think he fell down with the rubble and then popped up.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, because
like,
I love the fact that it's just his eyeball was peeking through the hole, and that's what the gunner saw.
It was just watching the fight.
Yeah.
Arthur's like, "What's my quest?" He's like, "You want me to explain to you what's going on?" He's like, "No, I actually know." And I love that so the art guy runs away, and he has to take on Mirage again. And he goes to his training. He goes samurai style. He even has the piece of straw coming out of his mouth, and he's like, "I'm a knight samurai." He's like, "No, wait, because then I would be mostly samurai, and that's not gonna work. I'm a samurai knight. That's it." But then he uses his training, and we go to the villain. The villain's like, "Well, I'm not gonna attack him until he messes up, so I don't know what he's waiting for." And then Arthur hears a breath and he slices, and you think he attacked Hinawa, and Hinawa starts yelling at him. He's like, "No, I didn't miss." And the bad guy was standing on the pillar behind Hinawa. It was actually going to kill Hinawa, and he heard that breath. So not only was this very funny and set up, it was also very cool. It did the flashback to the training. Like, this was well done. This was perfect, and I laughed very hard. I actually watched it twice. I got my kids in the room, like, yeah, everybody watch this. because we have a running joke that we hate Arthur because he's our boy.
Because he's Sean?
Nope, just because he's an idiot and we love an idiot.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out what you meant by he's our boy.
Oh, that's what the kids say now when you find someone who's that's our boy.
Oh, God, I'm old.
Well, so am I, but I talk like my teenagers, and I'm sure that makes me very cool. And then Giovanni and Lisa attack Vulcan and Obi. Any thoughts on this fight? Which is mostly just Obi and Giovanni yelling out their, like, I think people matter. I don't think people matter.
Yeah, exactly. And taunting each other about knowledge they have that they're not going to share.
Every time Obi's in a fight, he just kind of ups it up a notch. Just with his absolute ridiculous strength and fortitude.
I love it when he rips out the train tracks, plants him in the ground, and crawls up it like a ladder. I was like, I'm so into that.
And uses that to jump from. And also, I love that here's what do they call her? Not Faith.
No. Her name, Feeler.
Feeler, that's right. She's got all these fire tentacles out, and he's like, you know what? Here's my fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
I swear this. I love that. There's just something so cool about, like, you guys got flashy powers, but I got good old hard perseverance and a fire extinguisher, and I'm not giving up. And I'm like, I respect you, man. This is silly. This would never work. You're dead.
You're
should be
gonna
dead.
die, but
I love it anyway. I love it to the bottom of my heart.
No, and I love the tactics they have to use because they're not powered. I love that it doesn't feel too contrived what they're doing. And then, they have to kind of think ahead as far as like what kind of damage might I take to either my chest or my face. I thought the fight was pretty cool because it was two unpowered guys against two powered guys, and plus it was a gadget fight as well.
And a lot of it also had to do with convincing Lisa that she shouldn't be on that side too. That was another element to it that was really cool.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glossing over this fight because we have another bigger one to get to, but yeah, it's convincing Lisa you're okay. Non-powers, the penguin suit shows up. A lot of ideology being yelled back and forth. A lot of plot being yelled back and forth. But I was very much into the fight. They do end up getting Lisa. Giovanni, when the other fight starts happening, Giovanni's like, okay, my mission's successful. I did what I need to do. I'm just going to walk away. And I'm leaving Lisa. Who cares? And Lisa's like, don't go without me, even though you just tried to murder me. Because she's got kids.
Yeah. Serious Stockholm Syndrome.
But she does get a really cute haircut, so...
She was cuter with long hair.
Not a great way to get the haircut, by the way.
No.
Yeah.
Finish those. Anyway, the other storylines that happening is Shinra and Victor, who got separated together. Shinra finds Victor and saves him from being captured, and then they go on to find Sho. Shinra goes into what we find out is hell. A demon comes up and hugs him or touches him. Has this scorpion tail. It's gonna end up. I thought this was just cool imagery. It ended up being very important.
Right.
Yeah. And very real. Yep.
Yep. And then when he meets Sho, they explain the Adola link, and he's like, "Yeah, it's the fire of hell. We're literally connecting to hell." And Sho's like, I can freeze time because I can pull fire out of hell. You also now apparently can shoot fire out of from hell. And we see when they're in hell through their mind link. The evangelist appears behind Sho, and he's like this giant guy, but he has this smile on that tells me, you know who I am as a character, but I have my face is covered, so you can't identify me. I think he's someone we've met.
For the longest time, I thought that was his mom.
I did too for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
we kind of already talked a lot about this fight. So basically, Sho can freeze time. Shinra, who's insistent this is not a fight. They are playing tag, and then he is taking him home. And I absolutely love his whole mentality.
Yeah.
Right? There's no anger at being a bad guy. It's just, dude, I'm going to save you. Don't talk bad about mom, but you're my brother, and nothing. The fact you've stabbed me 5 times, I'm not mad. It's cool. He's committed to his outlook on this fight. But Shinra ends up going
tag pretty rough, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you know the rules. You're not supposed to hit the guy who's hit.
I love the fact of how much it aggravated Sho too, because you can imagine from his perspective being the prodigy for so long, or one of the prodigies. I mean, there are others with Alola links, but being the prodigy, he's a spoiled brat, and I love the fact that plays into the whole fight too, where he's like taunting him as, "You are such a brat. Oh my God, you're a brat." It was really entertaining.
It was interesting that the majority of the strikes from Sho were the back of his sword.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me
think,
a couple. Was he conflicted before this fight even started?
Well, I assumed he was hitting armor, but I wasn't paying attention to the angle of his sword.
I paused a couple to look at the frames, and there was one where he hit Shinra in the face with the blade, and all it did was give him like a little bit of blood splatter.
Oh yeah, so, like literally like nearly scalped him, but then all he had was like a little bit of bleeding going down.
Yeah, and that was the blade in the frame by frame. Yeah. That was not the back of it.
I did notice that.
But he definitely did back and forth, and it was kind of cool.
So Shinra starts again. Something we mentioned. He gets his psychic shins to work by getting emotional, and or did we talk about? Maybe that was pre-show. Sorry about that.
I think we talked about it.
Did we? Shinra gets his psychic shins to connect emotionally to Sho and steal the power he's getting from Hell and the Evangelist. Basically, like, hey, if you have the devil's power, I'm going to take some. So now he can travel at the speed of light, which means he actually travels backwards in time, which is faster than freezing time on a technical level. And Victor is explaining all of this to us.
Yeah.
Actually, Victor in this fight is amazing because, like Jeremy mentioned earlier, he's just like, wait, if he's doing this, then it means this. And oh, but wait, like, how does this work?
He's going to cause a black hole if he does this part here. Oh my God, should I tell him? I'm never going to get another chance to see this, though.
He does eventually warn him that, like, if you overheat, he's like, you are bursting into particles and dying and then being rebuilt before you burst. If you overheat, you'll just burst and then be done. You'll die. And Shinra's like, long hair don't care. I'm gonna do this. Very anime move. And traps him and his brother in their memories. And I'll be honest, I got emotional at this scene of them when he rescues his baby brother from a piece of newspaper. And this reminds Sho that his brother was his own personal hero. And like the whole thing is like, you're in the darkness now and I'll take you back to the light, whereas you were covered by the newspaper, so you were in the dark and I saved you. And they hug. But Shinra accidentally ran into his sword chest first. And it's now coming out the back of him.
Yeah.
Wait, but they were hugging before the sword.
Didn't they say he impaled himself?
Yeah,
I think Mind Control Lady made him do it.
It didn't look like she had mind control over him until after he tried to stop her.
She has 2 different types. She can force actions, and then she can puppetry. But yeah, we don't know because she goes, "Oh, looks like he impaled himself." But like when they're first hugging, it doesn't look like he's impaled.
Yeah, but I thought it was camera angle, but you could be right.
Just my interpretation.
Yeah, so she's the lady with the crown on her head, and she does show up here, and she shows like, hey, what actually happened 12 years ago? How did I get with you bad guys? And she's like, all right, well, take away your powers and take over your mind. You start walking home, and I'm gonna go capture your brother. And then all the Eighth shows up and protects Shinra and is able to drive her away. And Arthur's the first one to show up, and she tries to mind control him, and it does not work. And she's like, it must be his sword. And I was like, no, he's just too dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Yep.
Especially the
But
way
then
it's drawn.
we've been having mentions throughout the story of earthquakes, and now a big earthquake hits, so everyone has to run away. They do make a show showing all the white robes that have been defeated are no longer where we left their bodies, and the Eighth gets out. They rush Shinra to the Sixth, which is the Doctor's fire force, because they have Dr. Huang, who can make a fire snake that goes into your body and fire heals you with your fire. That is literally how they explained it.
Yep.
Don't have a problem with it.
She's like, I've never seen this before. He might be paralyzed, and 5 minutes later, he'll make a full recovery.
Yep. He's doing great.
I mean, in My Hero Academia, a tournament scarred a kid's hand for life, but nope, we're fine.
It's okay.
Yep.
It's not really fair to compare, but yeah, I am.
But we're gonna.
And then Captain Burns of the first shows up to Shinra when he wakes up a couple days later. He's like, I brought you some food. I want to talk to you. Come fight me right now. And then the next episode starts with Shinra returning home to the Eighth, but then it jumps back to this fight. And the nurse and Burns' new second in command, because the other guy was a psychopath.
With a hole in his chest.
They're like, nope, they're fighting, nothing we can do. And they're just like, we should stop them. He's like, nope, look, they're all on fire. It's not gonna stop. And basically, Burns is like, I've known everything the whole time, always, because I remember you. I was the guy who rescued you from the fire 12 years ago. I totally lied to you, and I'm not gonna tell you the truth unless you're strong enough to beat me. And his power is he puts fire in his muscles to make himself strong.
I guess it really wasn't clear to me. It's just that he can increase heat, which is really.
And is that a first generation thing? Is there first generation?
No, he's third generation.
Is he?
Yeah.
Because he's
third generation. Because he makes fire appear. He doesn't manipulate.
Yeah.
So generation literally doesn't matter. It's just we have manipulators and creators.
Correct.
Yep. But you're right. What the heck would a first generation be?
Right. Okay. And especially because Adola Burst are the fourth generation.
Implicitly, yeah.
Yeah. So someone said that they're like a fourth generation.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, because he's able to bruise Captain Burns is like, okay, now I'll tell you the whole thing. The thing that caused your fire, that lady with a crown on her head, when she was a little girl, made your baby brother have his fire powers turn on, and it turned your mom into an infernal, and she became a demon who took care of your baby brother. And so the demon you saw that pulled its horns down over its eyes, that was literally your mom. Oh, and they got away, and so she's still alive. and took your baby brother. And then you were like, I want to kill them. And so I was like, I'm not telling you what happened because I don't want you to get involved. And so I lied to you, and then you showed up anyway. My bad.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Burns' revelation, lore, backstory here?
The mom. What a bomb to drop. Wow. I did not see that coming, that she was the Infernal. I thought that was really cool.
She turns demon, not just infernal. So does that mean she's also Adola linked?
I don't think so.
Because
we don't really know what the demons are. We just know that they're like an amped up infernal.
Because they mentioned something about awakening Sho and Shinra's latent fire abilities, but it seemed maybe the girl with the crown awakened it in Sho first.
It's there's a lot of weird things that happen in this scene. So first off, the two white robes that are doing this both have their eyes covered, and they're talking about we have to have our eyes covered so we can't see the sun because of our religion. And at the same time, they show the demon grab its horns and rip them down to cover their eyes. And
it's not the sun,
she originally
that's
looks
the
at
evangelist.
the evangelist, yeah, and it burns her eyes.
Yeah.
And then there's the little girl with the crown doing all these like weird movements like puppetry, like she's controlling the mom or the fire. And this is after everything's happened, but she's still very active in whatever she's doing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on here.
The guy behind her is hilarious, by the way, because he's like, "You creepy." But no, it just makes me wonder, because is this like a family of Adolas? And if that's the case, is it blood? Does it run in the blood? And is that the difference between demons and infernals? Is infernals are people without it, and demons are people with it? Because Sho and Mom and Shinra don't turn because of bugs. Or at least it doesn't. There's no implication that there's any bugs to be.
No, Sho's activation turned the mom into an infernal.
Right.
But if you remember the guy that ate the bug and turned into a demon in Seven's district, when that happened, they were saying, "Oh wow, this area is a hot spot for demons." It sounds to me like they have ley line kind of thing, where they're like, "Oh, like this region is more likely." Yeah. Not necessarily person create, but at the same time, there's the guy with the hole through his chest now, the crazy guy who was sticking insects into people to find out if they were compatible, which implies that it's person based. So it could be either way or both. I have no idea, but yeah. Interesting.
One final note, and I have to make this note: when Shinra and Captain Burns start their fight, I swear to heck, the music goes dude, which is Duel of the Fates. I'm like, are you doing Duel of the Fates? And it's not, but I swear it started exactly the same.
I got the exact same feeling. I was like, is Troy Troy's gonna notice this? He has to notice this.
I was so excited. All right. Then so the other story that's happened this episode, Shinra is coming back to the 8th. Vulcan drives him back, and he meets Iris first, and he goes in and says hi to everyone. And they basically have a big dinner party with all the hero characters who they have met so far come and join them, and that's how it ends, with the 3 mascots having their own little mini feast saying Fatoma.
Which we haven't seen the mascots in quite some time.
Yeah.
They were outside when they hung the skull on the cross, looking a little worried about the skull on the cross.
Yeah, they were.
Which I'm wondering if they're secretly the ultimate bad guys of this universe, by the way.
You said that last time. That is
here.
the worst idea I've ever
heard. It would be amazing.
I'm telling you.
It's got to be.
That's why they're always at the 8th. They're keeping an eye on them.
Yep.
All right, let's go to our final reviews. Jason, what did you think of Fire Force?
This section, I definitely want to give... I think I'm just going to go ahead and give it a 4. Like, it's a high 3, but, like, I'm actually pretty excited to see the next season. And also, I have to give it props for concluding this arc and not giving too much of a cliffhanger to where I don't feel satisfied with the story that's already been told. They wrapped up things nicely. There's stuff to look forward to. There's obviously a lot more story to be told. But this is a self-contained package that I don't have to feel like, oh, I'm waiting for, the next little bit because, someone's about to die. And I think there's also enough mystery with Sho and the Evangelist still that it's definitely kept my attention. The animation, the sound on point, the world is really great, and the world building took it up a notch this season. So all together, Again, I'm going to give it a 4. It's a high 3, but I'm going to give it a 4 just because I would recommend it as far as a shonen for someone to watch. It's pretty good. I had a fun time.
Jeremy, how about you?
I thought it handled the escalation of going from, this is they're just putting to rest infernals at various locations, and it's just a fire station, but with cool gimmicky powers. From that point, working its way up to now, there's a character that's literally stealing the heat from the universe's expansion in order to stop time. Like, and they're getting their powers from hellfire. like the escalation that they went in both power levels and story in one season was actually pretty cool. I didn't mind that. I'm a little concerned about where they can go from here, because if this is your linear approach toward power scaling and toward like what your next challenge is for your character, I'm really curious to see where they go next. But a lot of it could be simply that they have, these powers are tied to the whatever that character was called. I can't remember now.
Evangelist?
But thank you. Tied to the evangelist, and without the ability to link to the evangelist, they don't have the ability to use these crazy powers. But you were gonna say something?
Well, yeah, that's true. Burns calls that out, that he can no longer go light speed. He's lost he was literally stealing grace, whatever that is, from the evangelist to go to light speed.
Yeah, exactly. So without that, I mean, I guess there's room for a little bit more progression to get back up there, which is almost like they gave us a sample of craziness to see what we could come back for, which is cool. I like the characters. I enjoy the humor for the most part. I thought it balanced out a lot better than the first half of the season. It almost felt like somebody else was in charge of the writing to me. Probably not, but it just kind of felt like that to me. But yeah, I definitely liked it a lot more. I also want to give it a 4, and I give the whole season a 4.
I'm going to give it a very entertaining 3. I like the fights. I like most of the characters. I enjoyed myself throughout the anime. I don't really find myself excited for the next season, though, or waiting with bated breath.
That's right. You could be wrong.
In a very similar vein to Jeremy, one of my big worries is if in the first big fight, the climax fight of season 1, you have a character literally jumping to light speed. What do you do for the climax fight of season 2? Like, how are you going to up that? It's my worry about Avengers Endgame, but that was at the very end of everything, right? Like, after the portal scene, what scene feels big enough to match in Avengers? So I'm a little worried about their future, but I did enjoy the ride of season 1, so a high 3 for me. Our next anime that we will be watching and discussing, chosen by Jeremy, is very hard to pronounce, so I'll do my best here. Dorohedoro. Is that correct?
It sounds right.
Okay. And if it's chosen by Jeremy, it must be weird.
It is weird.
It is weird, but I've heard good things about it. It's one that piqued my interest. It's about a world full of magic users, but they're like the world lives in fear of them, except for there's this lizard guy who eats their heads, and that's our main character. Like, we're gonna follow the lizard guy, and it's kind of a dark comedy, is what I'm getting, but it probably has some gore and violence if a guy's ripping heads off. So be aware of that for viewers. And it's 12 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So I am looking forward to that. He almost picked.
I almost picked B-Star.
B-Stars,
almost did.
But it said just one lizard man. Instead of all animal people, one lizard man. We're working our way up.
Furry, we'll go scaly.
I will say, after finishing Beastars, the worst thing is that show got a "this is for furries" thing. That was actually a really good story, and the fact that it's animals is going to push so many people away. That it's not fair to it, but oh well. They made their choice.
I think we should watch it, actually. I highly recommend it. If nobody else picks it, I probably will. And just because I was looking at the names of reviews, and like people are all saying, "Don't be a coward, watch this. This is really cool. Don't be put off by the name." And
I keep seeing like posts of people going, "This is not for furries."
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But also, there's no furry would enjoy it. That is just true. It's just a fact of life.
Yeah.
And no
that Venn diagram.
Yes. So if you have thoughts on Fire Force or the anime we're about to watch, you can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast. You can send us an email, the animebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found the podcast, and it'll get back to us. Thank you so much for the comments you do leave. We really appreciate that. We love hearing from you guys. We will talk to you soon. Let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
We're the anime and the podcast Baka Men.
Sayonara.